Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be speaking to this human being right here. He's not only a doctor, he's a director, he's a producer, he's a writer, he's a father, he's a husband, he's a son.
Yes.
The great Dr. Tyrone Dixon. Many of you would know him for, I got to say, Roll Bounce,
yes,
the Bow Wow movie where you were a producer. So I definitely got to get you to go back a little bit, and we'll talk about that. Because talking to you, there's so much we can talk about. We can just talk about movies, the art of it. We could talk about what's going on with parents and things that you want to do. And I know you don't want to talk too much about that. That's coming. But you're always working on something interesting as well. But let's go back. Who is Dr. Dixon? Where is he from? How did he get into movies, etc.?
Wow. So, born and raised Houston, Texas.
Yes, sir.
CUNY Homes.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
My first 4 or 5 years of my life was in the CUNY Homes.
Oh, you're a third ward for real.
Ward baby.
Yeah.
I remember when I used to ride my bicycle down home in Sampson and all that kind of stuff to go to Frenchie's and pick up a po' boy sandwich for me and my mama and ride back. And that was a time when I could go to the store and actually buy cigarettes from my mom.
Absolutely.
Remember?
Yeah, that was dope. We could buy liquor back in those days too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a Houstonian through and through. I moved around a bit. I went to 5 different high schools.
Okay. What were they?
I started at Willow Ridge.
The Ridge.
And then I went to St. Thomas, play baseball.
Were you good?
I was good. I was quarterback. We were state champions.
Okay. All right.
83, 84. And then it was an all-boys school. It was challenging, all that good stuff. And so my senior year, I transferred to Barbara Jordan and played football for Wheatley. And I did that for 6 weeks. And then I was not having a good time at Barbara Jordan. I was not doing what I was supposed to do. The principal, Dr. Cole, knew my father and called my father and said, "Your son is a great student, but there's too many girls here for him, and he is out of control. You got to do something." So
you're joking with me.
I'm not joking with you. Wow. So my dad came and picked me up from my mom's house, and I went with him and enrolled in Jack Yates. And so I spent my senior year at Jack Yates. Now, I was going to play baseball there. It was a different climate. I was going to play football. But, in 85, they were state champions. They had a squad. I couldn't even walk on that team.
That's right.
So I just became a fan. And so, so I was able to, Mary Waits was over there in the school. They had a communications department there. And I started doing that. I did theater at Yates. And that kind of really got me to really connect with my dream that I've always had since I was about 10 years old, which is to work in the movie business. Mm-hmm. I was a latchkey kid. Television babysat me, and I watched a lot of movies. And around 10, 11 years old, I got curious, and I wanted to know, how the credits roll up at the end, and I would see it say Foley or script supervisor or best boy grip, and I would want to know what those things were. And there was no way to find it. I'd go to the library, couldn't find it. My parents didn't know nothing about it. No one around me could actually help me. So I carried that thing around with me. My auntie Gwen loves photography. For all my life, she's always had a camera. I mean, she's just all my life. She went from Polaroid cameras to still cameras to video cameras. And so when I got to high school, I started messing around with her and her cameras and really trying to figure out how to tell a story. And it was when I got to college that made the difference. And I enrolled at Texas Southern University in the School of Communication, and I had an opportunity to start practicing what I thought is what I wanted to do with the rest of my life.
Okay.
So I've always known that this is what I wanted to do, but not knowing how to get into it was the big deal. It wasn't until I became a student at TSU that all of those doors kind of opened up for me to understand exactly how I can make it happen.
Yeah.
And so I did my thing here, and the day I graduated in 1994, May 14th, my father's birthday, I drove a 1978 Eldorado Baritz candy apple red, sunroof top.
Okay. You was driving nice.
I was driving nice. My daddy sold the car to me. It was his car, but he sold it to me. And I drove that to Los Angeles, and I've been there ever since.
You went to school there as well, or was
no? I did. Once I graduated from TSU, I moved to Los Angeles. So I got accepted to law school at TSU, and I said I was just going to spend a summer in LA.
Okay.
And I wanted to get some experience and work on some things, and so I'd worked on a movie called Jason's Lyric while I was at TSU. Yes. So
this is a small world because I have a little.
I do. Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting. Keep going.
So
the world is getting smaller, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Yes. So what did you do on this movie?
So I started off as an intern working in the art department.
Gotcha.
So before the crew got to a location, I would be at that location working to get this location set up and dressed properly and all this other kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I did that for maybe 2 or 3 weeks on the film, and they weren't paying me. I just loved it. And then there was this dude named Charles Scafey. He was the on-set dresser. And what his job
and what
was,
does okay, I was going to ask, what is an on-set dresser?
An on-set dresser is a person who works with the script supervisor and the prop master on setting up the shot to make sure that continuity is in place. Right, so
it makes sense in the scheme of the movie and the order that it goes
right.
in.
So if we have a table of stuff and then there's a fight and they fall on the table and all of the stuff falls off of the table,
you got to make sure everything gets right back in the same place. Yes, sir.
So we can take 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told the production designer that I really wanted to work on the set. That my goal was to be a producer, director, and if he could find it in his heart to allow me to work on the set, that I would be greatly appreciated, right? And so he said, yeah, cool. You go work with Charles. And Charles trained me up. And before I knew it, he would be sitting in the back and I'm working as the set dresser. So one night we were in the Heights shooting the exterior scene where Bokeem comes in with 2 guns and he shoots the guys up front and he's going. We're getting ready to shoot that scene. He's already shot them, so the actors are playing dead and da-da-da-da. And we've set the scene up. And we're getting ready to shoot. And roll sound. Roll camera. And I say, stop. And then everybody looked at me just like you're looking at me right now.
Yeah, because this is
turned.
I'm a protocol guy, and this is totally out of protocol what you do.
And I said, I'm sorry, but is that water bottle in the windowsill supposed to be there? And the cameraman looked through the lens. The directors were looking at the monitors. No one saw it.
Wow.
None of the other professionals that were there saw that water bottle there.
Which seems like it's not a big deal. When you're watching a movie, it is.
It's a huge deal.
Huge deal.
Because if they shot that scene with that water bottle there, and that was the take that they wanted to use, they was going to have to do some really extreme stuff to remove that water bottle out of the shot.
Absolutely.
Or just leave it. And then what happens? Well, somebody sees it and goes, So at that moment, the line producer became my mentor, Dwight Williams, walked up to me. He says, good call, son. It was gutsy, but good call. Thank you. And here's some start paperwork. Now, mind you, I was still working as an intern, not getting paid.
And what is start paperwork?
That's your I-9 and your W-2, the paperwork to get hired.
So you can get some money, so I can get paid.
And so now I was getting paid $75 a day. So that literally
because your gutsy call.
Because of my gutsy call. It's at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
That's when this happened. And that was the moment I knew I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. It was done. And so when I drove to California, they have like a crew list of the people who worked on the film, and I kept in contact with them. Mario Van Peebles had come to TSU to speak, and because I was that guy, they let me host him that weekend.
Wow.
His partner, Brent Schaefer, he and I hit it off. And so I stayed in contact with Brent. Mm-hmm. And I said, Brent, I'm moving to California for the summer. And he was like, yo, why don't you come work on Panther with us? I was like, Panther?
What?
He said, yeah, Mario.
This sounds unreal.
It with Melvin Van Peebles.
Some people got all the luck, man.
So, so when I drove there, my first gig, and it was again an internship, working on the movie Panther. So I worked in the front office, answering phones, filing stuff away.
These some big moves, though. This is not to me, this is not regular. But maybe I don't know a lot about movies. Maybe this is how it goes for most people. I don't know.
It doesn't happen like that for most people.
Okay. Two great moves.
It was right. Timing was everything.
Absolutely.
Right. But being bold about it and wanting to make it happen, I drove with $1,000 in my pocket. When I got to L.A., my water pump went out on the car. I had to spend $500 to fix the car. Now I only got $500. And my auntie had a group home. She had multiple group homes, and one of them was off 108th and Prairie. That's in Inglewood. And in this group home were boys who were awarded to the state, and all of them were in gangs. So these are Bloods where I was. And so I had the night shift. I would sleep from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then I would go work on the movie. But I couldn't sleep there because these guys were jumping out of windows and I was having to call the police. And I did that for a month. My auntie, bless her heart, she wrote me a check and I went to the bank to cash that check and it bounced. $1,600. So I had to go get that money from her. But lo and behold, working on Panther for 4 weeks as an intern, the producer, Preston Holmes, his sister, Patricia Holmes, was an accountant on the film. And she loved the way I handled the front office. And she was like, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a producer. And then I think I want to direct. She says, you want to be a producer, you need to come up to the accounting office and work. I said, well, I would love to. So she stole me from the production coordinator and brought me up to the accounting department.
Wow.
So I started filing things and I started learning everything about how movies get made and who gets paid what and why and blah, blah, contracts, actors. I was getting all of this information. We were now having to shoot in Oakland, right? We had to shoot like 7 days or so in Oakland. They're there in Oakland for a few days. They run out of cash. The movie, right? They need cash, the petty cash. Didn't have any cash. Production manager was out. We were shooting in neighborhoods where we would have to pay people off.
You can shoot there.
So you can shoot there.
Because you're in gang territory.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was in the hood, baby. It was like, we were making a movie about the Black Panther Party. It was crazy. So, anyway, I was having a good time in the accounting department, and it was really cool. But one day, after 3 days of being in Oakland, they called and said, we need $35,000 so that we can pay these people off. And we need it now. So
this is what you call, this is the street fee.
Yeah. The street. So they said, well, Tyrone, we need to take you to the bank. We're going to get $35,000. We're going to put it in a bag. Do you have a duffel bag? I had an Astros duffel bag in my car.
This sounds crazy.
I go get the Astros duffel bag. They take me to the bank, put that cash in that bag, take me to the airport, right? Buy me a ticket to get on a plane to Oakland. When I get off the plane in Oakland, now I'm riding with $35,000 cash, and I don't know all of the rules or whatever, but they just pushing me out there to go do this thing. And so when I get there, the production manager, Brent Owens, is there. He picks me up in the car. I give him the cash. He gives me start paperwork, right, and a receipt book. He said, for every cash I give out, I need to keep a receipt for it, okay? And here, so we can start getting paid. So I went from $75 a day on that other flick, right? Now I'm making $500 a week. And I'm excited. I'm like, I'm on the crew now. So now, because I'm working with the production manager, I'm on set. I'm standing right behind the director, Mario. I'm looking in the monitor. I'm having access.
Be clear, you're standing behind Mario
Van Peebles.
Yes, sir.
And behind Melvin Van Peebles, because they were there sitting next to each other every shot of the film. Because Melvin was the producer. He was the one that really got it. And so that was an opportunity for me. So we get back, I fly back, and now I'm working in the accounting department. Now I'm an accountant now. And we're moving into post-production. So they keep me on for post, and I'm working in the accounting department. Down the street on Sunset Boulevard, there's this movie called Lord of Illusion being made. And the line producer, Daniel Lupi, called Preston Holmes, and he's a British guy, Daniel Lupi, and says, Preston, I know you just finished making your film. We're getting ready to start our film. And I realized, I looked at my crew, I don't have no black people on my set. Wow. I've got 5 positions open, and I want to fill them with black people. And one of them was in the accounting department. So, they recommended me to go down. I'd never done any study accounting in school or whatever.
Right,
you can learn how to do this. So I go, I do the interview. I get the gig. Start paperwork comes out again. Now I go from $500 a week to $900 a week. I haven't been in LA 6 months. Right? Now I'm working on a movie that the director of Hellraiser, right? He's directing this film, and with Scott Bakula, and it was just out of control. And so there was a 3-people accounting department, and my job was to manage the petty cash and to do non-union payroll. Mm-hmm. And so I had to learn how to do that. It's simple math and blah, blah, blah. Somebody would give someone $1,500 petty cash. They had to bring back $1,500 receipts. I would have to check those receipts, make sure they were real. And if they were, I'd give them another $1,500 to go out and do whatever they needed to do and maintain their space in the budget.
Yes, sir.
I went through $1 million petty cash.
Yourself?
Me. Wow. I managed $1 million out of that safe and didn't lose a dime. Did not lose a dime. And that was a big deal. And I'll never forget, and this is going to, just going to really trip you out. So I got real nervous when I was handling all that money. Now, you don't know this about me, and I'm not afraid to talk about it, but I had an addiction to crack at one point.
I did not know that.
And I spent a year trying to get myself together, right? I went to rehab, Rusk State Hospital, and did all that kind of stuff. That was just before I went back to TSU.
Wow.
Right? So anyway, I have to tell the lady. I tell my boss, Betsy Danbury, I used to be a crackhead, and I stole from my mother, stole from my auntie. I've been in some bad situations. And I'm only telling you this because I don't want to be blamed for money coming up missing. I'm reformed. I'm actually a sponsor for other addicts today. Mm-hmm. I've been clean this many years, blah, blah, blah. And I drove home that night thinking, did I just blow it? And the next day, the third person leaves, and it's just me and the accountant, Betsy. She says, Tyrone, I really want to thank you for sharing with me, and I need your help. My brother is suffering from crack addiction.
Wow.
And so then I became this conduit between her and her brother and her parents, and it just built this relationship, right?
Right.
And so that's how it all started. And then that movie got done, and it was post-production, and then Daniel Lupi was moving on to a new film, and he said, Tyrone, you want to go with me on the next film I'm working on? I said, sure. And so then I became a first assistant accountant. Now I went from $900 a week to $1,500 a week, and I worked on Paul Thomas Anderson's first film called Hard 8. Me and Sam Jackson were the only 2 black people on the film. We shot this in Reno, Nevada. Prior to doing that, Preston said to me, Tyrone, I think you should apply to the American Film Institute. I'd heard of this school. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't know if I can do that. I went to TSU. I was I was second guessing what I'd done. And then he said, just apply anyway. And I said, if I apply to this school and I get in, I'm going to stay here and go to film school. If I don't, I'm leaving. I'm going to go to law school, study entertainment law, come back. I applied, gave everything I had. And while I was in Reno working on that film, I got a phone call from the president of AFI asking me if I still wanted to be a student there and why they should allow me to be there and what was I doing. And he was just, I said, I'm in Reno working on a movie. So what are you doing? I said, I'm the first assistant accountant and I'm managing the budget and doing all that kind of stuff. Do you really want to be a producer? I said, yes, that's all I want to do. And he says, okay, and he hung the phone up. So I didn't know whether that was like I'm in or out. And 2 weeks later, I got a letter, and I was in. And when I got to school, people were all talking about how many times that they applied to get into the school. And when they came around, Tyrone, how many times I said once? They were all shocked. I said, well, I strategically, I was an accountant. I'm already working in the movie business, and it was just easier. I was a no-brainer to them, and then obviously I'm black, that helped out a lot. But while I was doing that, doing the producing thing, that's when the directing thing came in. So I started directing in film school at AFI and started doing music videos, and that led to...
What was there any big music videos that we might be aware of?
When I started doing music videos, I started working with independent artists, and they were the ones I had access to, and they could afford me, and it worked out. One of the biggest music videos I did with an artist was with Bun B and what's the cat? He's from the Hot Boys.
Juvie
and Bun B did a song called Gold Mouth, about gold teeth in the mouth, and it was his brothers from Dallas got these guys in their video, and they wanted Dr. Teeth to do the video, but Dr. Teeth was busy.
Who also teaches at TSU now.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow. So these TSU alumni were battling each other for videos. Did y'all know each other real quick?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so y'all?
Yeah, they were.
Did y'all both have the same dream at the same time and knew about it, or you were just both on your own
we met
trajectory?
At TSU. He was an underclassman. So when I was a senior, he was a sophomore.
Gotcha.
And I was running around here doing all types of things. They were all like following me and wanting to do what I did. And I was taking cameras out of the studio. I gave the title of my car so I could take cameras out that would never go out.
Wow.
And if I bought batteries for the cameras, and so that I could take them out, and left the cameras so other students could take them out. And John Tucker, Dr. Teeth, was one of those. Him and McBain, Cliff McBain, they were the ones who benefited from that energy that I had. Me being, skip the whole fact that I spent 4 years in the military as an air traffic controller. I brought all that energy to the classroom. Yes.
You've done I don't know any of these things.
Yeah.
How did you find time? Excuse me, this is gonna sound crazy. Go to TSU, become a crackhead, be in the military, go to the West Coast, start in the movie industry, end up making movies, directing, and being a producer. This don't even sound like a real story. This is crazy.
Yeah, my students who I share a lot with, they always say, "Man, your story is amazing. You should make a movie."
How long were
yourself.
you in the military?
4 years. That's how I got addicted to cocaine.
Wow.
I left the military an addict.
Was it the stuff that you had to do in the military? It got to you, or just other people? This is things that would be happening.
I was a young sailor, and I was around old salty sailors that traveled.
He said salty.
Oh yeah, the salty dogs. And they had privilege, and so I was a young pup hanging out with them, and I would be doing things with them, and I was 18, 19 years old.
Wow.
And so, I would not change a thing. I enjoyed being in the Navy.
Served the country.
And I enjoyed that, and would do it again.
Yes, sir.
Without the cocaine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I brought all that energy, to TSU as a student, and I knew what I wanted to do. And
can I circle back to something? How hard was it for you to get off your drug addiction? I have to ask that question, because it's not, and in my opinion, and I don't know that much because I've never done any of those. I was always frightened that I would become addicted, and my demise would be obvious. Was something happening that made you say, "Oh, this is crazy, I got to get off of this"? Or was it a family member or a friend that says, we got to get this guy clean"?
Well, what I was doing was I was smoking what we call primos. It was weed laced with crack, right? And it took, we were having fun. We were young people. I had no idea I was becoming addicted. It didn't dawn on me until I got out of the Navy that when I got home, I worked to buy crack. And I did that for about a year coming out of the military. I worked in restaurants. I just to feed my addiction, I did all that I could do. And I started stealing from my mom. And I'll never forget, my mom said to me, you steal from me again, I'll kill you. So in order to keep that from happening, I'm going to keep my eye on you for the next 5 days, right? I didn't know what she was doing, but she was calling everybody she knew to get me in Rusk State. They had a waiting list. And my mom was like, we can't wait. This boy is going to either, I'm going to kill him, he's going to put himself in a situation, and somebody's going to hurt him. And on my way, she was driving me to the McGregor Mental Health space right there, midnight.
Wow.
Got into a white van with a bunch of other people who were suffering, and drove to Rusk State Hospital in the middle of the night. And when I woke up the next morning in this space, I realized, wow, I have the ability to not be here. Most people there were mentally ill, and they had to be there. They didn't have any choices.
Right.
So those of us who was in the substance abuse unit, we are walking around with people who cannot change their situation. I was in that space for 60 days, and they would say, only one of you is going to stay clean and sober a year. And I promised. I said, that's going to be me. I'm not coming back to this place. I'm never, this is not where I'm supposed to be. I got close to God. I did my 60 days. I got on a Friday, and on a Monday morning, I was enrolled at TSU.
Gee whiz.
3 years later.
Your life does not sound real. It does. The movie was never Roll Bounce, my friend. The movie was you. This sounds crazy to me, man.
And I don't really get to talk about this stuff much, but yeah, I share with my students along the way to give them some ideas about, if I can do it, you can do it. Because truly.
Let me, since we're on the drug, how do you fight the urge? Because once it's there, my opinion is that it's always bubbling. You could get stressed out. You might want to celebrate. It could be any kind of trigger. What is it that makes you fight inside and say, I just can't allow that to ever happen again?
I think it's, when I came home from rehab, I couldn't stay with my parents. I didn't have a key to the house. They didn't care that I had gone to rehab and gotten out. They just thought I would do it again. So it was to demonstrate to them that they can trust me again. So that was my driving force, was to get my parents to trust me, or my family to trust me again. And so that allowed me to focus and be selfish about what it was that I was doing and how I wanted to do it. And that's why I came to TSU. I got 2 degrees in 3 years. I have a degree in aviation, airway science management. The aviation program was just beginning. And because I'd gotten all of these hours of being an air traffic controller in the Navy, I could minor in airway science management and major in telecommunications. So when I left, I had enough hours to get a degree at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and I'd walk to TSU. I really didn't think about the aviation stuff, but I was just doing it to keep busy and to utilize what I had.
Why do I think you have a psychology major then?
Well, I went back to school after film school. I started working in the business a lot and working on movies and doing a whole lot of different things. And Roll Bounce happened, and that kind of changed everything for me. In 2007, 2008, we had a writer's strike, and it lasted almost a year. And that just shook everything up in the industry, right? So I had to regroup and think about, when I go back into the game, how do I want to be different? And that's when I found the media psychology program at Fielding Graduate University. And so I had to get a master's degree in, I have an MFA from AFI, but I had to get a master's degree in psychology first. And then I specialized in media psychology.
Brother, you must be super, super brainiac, dog. I'm listening to all this. You just spitting it out like everybody has. So I got this degree, aviation, da-da-da. I could have went to law school. By the way, psychology, this does not sound real. And it's amazing because I don't know why I don't know all of this story. Every time I see roll bounce and roller skaters.
Yeah.
And my brain stays there. This other part, this is exactly why I do this podcast, because you know people, but you don't know them at all. And you start talking to them, you're like, what? You did crack? What? You graduated from TSU? You did what? You just drove there? So you behind Mario Van Peebles? What?
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is a crazy ride.
It was surreal for me too. Even when I was told to apply to AFI, I was working on a music video. And I worked on some big music videos. Now, me directing them, I directed, independent artists and helped them get their careers off the ground. Mm-hmm. But I worked on a lot of Snoop Dogg, Death Row stuff. Mm-hmm. I had access. People working on movies were doing music videos on the weekend, so I would go do that. And so I got a job as a transportation coordinator on one music video. And I had to drive to Glendale to take the van back, pick up my car. And it just so happens I drove right past the American Film Institute. I'm just driving. Oh, there it is right there. I said, I'm going to stop by when I come back. I came back. I walked the halls. And the whole time I was walking those halls, I promise you, I'm telling you what was real. I got chills. The whole time I was walking in this place. It's summertime and I'm there, but I'm getting chills walking down the halls because I felt like this is where I'm supposed to be. And it just felt right. So I can't remember all of the things that I submitted because at one point when I was in film school after working on the movie with, prior to working on that film, I got an internship with the Houston Astros. Hence, that's how I had that Astros bag in my car. When
this is
Greg McLean bought the team, I worked with them, and Jeff Bagwell and BGO and all of that. So I worked with them for 6 months. And I did a video with Milo Hamilton. I taught people how to take score. That's where I really started being a director and directing Milo Hamilton and directing BGO. And the Astros gave me everything I needed. And it was a paid internship, too. So I think all of that kind of helped me get the gig on the Jason's Lyric, and then so it was Astros, Jason's Lyric, and then Panther, and then Lord of Illusions, and then it was Hard 8, then AFI, right? And in the middle of all of that, I'm directing music videos and just trying to get my thing together. It's surreal. I mean, it feels like when I'm reflecting on it now, like, because I still haven't gotten to where I ultimately want to be. But people are always looking at me, man, your career's, you've had 5
How are you balancing?
careers.
How are you balancing family with all this? Because I know that, you have kids and the whole nine.
I would take my baby girl, Cameron. She was born my second year at AFI. And at AFI, you get accepted your first year. It's not a guarantee that you're going to come back the second year to get your MFA.
Wow.
I had to reapply.
The MFA, that is what? So for those
Masters of Fine Art.
Gotcha.
And so my second year, I opted to write a screenplay and work one-on-one with a producer. And that's what I did. But I would have to take my daughter to school with me. She 6 months old, 3 months old, I would take her to school with me. And that, I've taken my kids to many meetings. With Sony, and sometimes it helps out. It was that kind of situation.
Yeah.
But it was tough for my first wife. It was a challenge because I would leave at 9 in the morning and not come home till 9 o'clock at night, and that would be every day. I would read a ton of screenplays because once I got out of film school, I got an opportunity to work with Deaf Pictures, Russell Simmons.
Okay.
And they made Gridlock.
How'd you fall into that?
Well, when I worked on Panther, I became tight with the producer, Preston Holmes. Mm-hmm. He then became my mentor, him and his sister. I just stuck with him and Dwight Williams, right? I just hung out with him a ton. And, you know, you need a sponsor in this business. You got to have somebody that believes in you. That's willing to give you a shot.
That's all businesses, in my opinion.
And that's how it all happened. It was me building relationships with people who believed in me. And that's what got me to that space of having the opportunity to work with Preston, because Preston was the president of Deaf Pictures. And I was doing my thing, and he didn't know if I wanted to be in development or if I were really out there trying to get my directing thing on. I wanted to work in every aspect of the business. Because I wanted to be my own boss at some point. All right, now I have Daikich out of films. I have a slate of projects that I'm working on. I've learned how to raise money. I wanted to be in that position so that I'm able to direct and produce the things that I want to do, versus me being hired as a freelance person. I enjoyed making movies with other people, but I enjoy making them for myself even more.
Absolutely.
And so I wanted to know everything about the film business. And so working in development was the other side of it. I was working in production. Now, this is what happens before you get a movie greenlit, right? You got to read screenplays. You've got to attach talent. You've got to develop relationships with people around town. You got to know agents and all of that. And so 2.5 years at Deaf Pictures gave me all of that. I was able to get my reel together, get an agent, and I'd met Debbie Allen at my graduation. Oh, let me just tell you this. The reason why I chose to go to AFI and only to submit to AFI, because I could have submitted to USC, UCLA. When I left here, I said, I'm going to find Debbie Allen.
Because?
She went to Yates. Her and Felicia were out there doing their thing. Fame was my favorite movie. I just felt
So you think because you got a Texas connection, if you get her, she's going to help you just because you went to Yates, you're from 3rd Ward.
Exactly. So on the day I graduated, we were outdoors. I mean, it's like in the movies, right? With graduation outside at AFI, and we had some amazing filmmakers there. This is historical. But Quincy Jones was getting his honorary PhD, a doctorate rather, from AFI. And we didn't know this until graduation. So we're sitting in we march in, and then they come marching in. And I'm sitting there, I see Quincy go by, and then I see Debbie Allen go by. I go, oh, shit. Is this really happening, God? Is you really? But her name was on the application as a board member. And I said, I'm going to go to this school. I'm going to meet Debbie Allen. And so I first had to get in. I got in. Then I had to stay in. I stayed in. And so when it was time for me to walk across the stage to get my degree, I leaned over to Debbie and said, TSU and Jack Yates is in the house. And she lost her mind. She screamed. Everybody looked over, and we hugged. And she said, we're going to talk later. So I went down. And so afterwards.
Good move.
Good.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I had to.
I've done that to somebody before because they went to North Carolina A&T.
Yeah.
That was a celebrity side.
Yeah. And so she couldn't believe it, right? And so afterwards, I'm with my baby. Quincy comes over and says, I have a baby that age and looks just like your baby. Let me hold your baby. And so now
when you say Quincy
Jones.
He just walks over to you.
He just walks over to me, congratulates me on getting my degree. I congratulate him, and then he takes the baby from me. And he's holding my baby.
You've never met Quincy, never
met Quincy before in my
life.
He
don't know you.
Don't know me. But he saw that baby and came over to me. And then Debbie came over and took the baby. And
none of this sounds real.
And started talking to me and said, we've got to exchange information, right? And so she gets pulled away. I'm in the midst of my thing. I got to go use the restroom. So I go use the restroom. As I'm coming out of the restroom, Debbie Allen is coming out of the restroom. And so we had this one-on-one moment, walking up the steps, walking back to the crowd. And she asked me, what do you want to do? And I told her. And she says, we're going to exchange information, and I want you to stay in contact with me because I'm going to help you get to where you want to go.
Wow.
So now after this, I'm now working at
Do you believe this when you hear it? Because people say fly stuff sometimes. You know?
I believed it.
Okay.
I believed it.
Okay.
She looked at me in my face and said what she was going to do. And then, so I would call her. I could never get her. Go to voicemail, her assistant would answer, take a message. Could not get Debbie Allen for months. Right? So I am now working on a movie called How Stella Got a Groove Back. Because Dwight Williams, the guy from the first project, he's the line producer on that. Now I'm in the game I'm with him. And she called me one day and said, I want you to, just out of the blue. Now months have gone by. I said, she'll call me. I maintain faith. No, she's busy and doing a whole lot of stuff. Well, I'm working on that movie. I'm on the set. My cell phone rings, and it's Debbie Allen. Right? And I'm talking to Debbie, and I can't believe I'm talking to her because I don't even know how she got the number. Because it's a set cell phone. It's not even my cell phone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and she says, I have a project. I want you to I'm gonna set up a phone call with you and Ahmad Rashad. And he needs a senior producer for whatever show he's going. I looked up what a senior producer did. I was like, I'm not going to get this job. But I enjoyed having an hour-long conversation with Ahmad Rashad as he looked at my resume and talked to me. He says, I applaud your guts and all, but I need somebody with 20 years experience, and maybe one day we'll get to work. And but Debbie's always, she's always going to look out for you. And that was cool, right? I was like, oh, Debbie doing her thing. So more time goes by. I'm working at Def Pictures. I'm ready to leave Def Pictures. I got my reel together. I got an agent now. And I send her one of my reels, right?
What do you have on your reel, real quick?
I had the school projects that I'd done at TSU, the Astros project that I did, and a couple of music videos that I'd done.
Yeah, the whole all of them in their entire.
Yes,
okay,
like
gotcha.
Introduction of me and because I'd worked on Boogie Nights with Paul Thomas Anderson. Paul mentions me in the DVD, and so I took that piece and put it in. So I sent it to Debbie. Maybe Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, I get a phone call from Debbie Allen. And she says, I got the perfect project. Meet me at whatever. I forget the name of the studio, right? I think it had something, I think it was DreamWorks or it was, yeah. And so, yeah, it was DreamWorks. And so I meet her there because she was finished making that movie Amistad.
Yes.
So her office was there, DreamWorks. So I go there to meet with her, and she says, here's this book, here's this project, it's been greenlit already, and I want you to produce it, and I want you to be a director on this show. The show is called Cool Women, which is a docuseries profiling ordinary women doing extraordinary things. It was based on a book. The We Network was new, and we were one of the first shows to launch the network. And to get the job, I had to do a TV budget. I had never done a TV budget. Mind you, I went to film school. I wanted to be a filmmaker. I almost kind of looked down on the TV thing. Oh, docuseries, But I worked with, because I was at Def Pictures, I knew, Stan Lathan. He hooked me up with a line producer guy, showed me how to do the budget and for this particular show. And I sent it back to her. Boom, I got the gig. And for 2 seasons, I produced and directed episodes of the show, which is a docuseries. So I was learning how to make documentaries.
On the fly.
I fell in love with it because it's storytelling. 3-act structure, conflict, resolution, transformation. It all the same stuff with real people. I just fell in love. Mm-hmm. And that's what led to me making 8 Wheels and Some Soul Brother Music, which was a documentary about black people roller skating. I was roller skating at the time at World on Wheels while I was doing this TV show with Debbie Allen. And so maybe I should take the camera and come over here and shoot this stuff because this seems like this is cool. And then I was seeing all of these people skating different styles. I'd never seen different styles of skating in one place before. And that's because LA is a transplant place. A lot of people from Ohio, Chicago, Detroit, and they all have different skating styles. So initially the documentary started with me just talking to these people about their different skating styles. And my wife, my girlfriend at the time, she says, you got to do more than that. Why don't you travel around the country? I said, we can't do that. She said, I'll invest 20 grand.
Wow.
I got 20 grand. You got some money. Let's buy the equipment. You travel. And she did the
believes
research.
In you.
And that was the beginning of 8 Wheels and Some Soul Brother Music. And when we finished that film, we went to the Atlanta Skate-a-thon. And I'll never forget, this was so cool. I had the idea I'm going to show the movie to the skaters first. I finished the documentary, know whether I was going to make any money off this thing or not. By that time, we'd spent 80 grand.
It's a lot.
So go to the skate-a-thon. I set it up so that we can, have a room where people can come in and watch the movie for free. And we set up, I sent 1,000 DVDs to Atlanta. And we sat at a tablecloth, movie. They go in, they come out after the film, $20. We sold 1,000 DVDs at $20 a pop in one weekend. So we had to get on a plane with 20 grand cash. We were throwing $20 bills underneath the table. My wife was like, is this what it feels like to be a drug dealer? With the 20s.
Yes.
Oh, 20s. But people loved the film. And then I started selling them out the trunk. So we started just sending DVDs out. People would send us checks. We send DVDs. Then I got a distribution deal. Mm-hmm. And an international distribution deal. And then I took it to 20th Century Fox. Bob Title and George Stillman pitched the idea about making a feature film about roller skating. And then we found Roll Bounce. They found that screenplay. Mm-hmm. And that's how all of that happened.
Wow.
Right? And it was, talking to you about this right now, it trips me out. I don't normally do this, so I'm not even really thinking about what I've done. Because the industry is about what have you done for me lately. So I'm looking at doing all these other documentaries, a documentary about Barbara Jordan and Barbara Jacket and Emory Douglas, Emory Douglas, the Minister of Culture for the Black Panther Party. He did all of the artwork, created the cartoons and
I never even thought about that
they had. And he became a world-renowned artist about protest, all around the world, they know his art. They've used his art.
You working on that now?
I'm working on that now.
Oh, that's gonna be great.
Yeah, interviewing him was amazing. That's a whole nother thing.
So, okay, now, how did they bring you into this whole Roll Bounce movie?
Bow Wow, Nick Cannon, Megan Good, Journey Smollett, Shy McBride.
It's a pretty big movie.
It was a pretty big movie.
Yes, I mean, for those, pretty much superstars.
Yeah.
Particularly at that time.
At that time.
So how did they go about convincing you that, or did you have to convince them? How did that all work out?
Wow. This is another story. So I pitched the idea to the people. They loved the idea. And they said, bring us back a screenplay. And I went out and hired a writer, and we started writing. But I was taking 8 Wheels and Some Soul Brother Music on the festival circuit. Mm-hmm. I ran into Bob Title at the African, it was, I forget the name of the festival, but it was in L.A.
Bob Title is who?
Bob Title is producer for State Street Pictures.
Okay.
And Bob Title and George Tillman are partners. They made all of the barbershop movies. And, the big one they made, it was, the family dinner. What was the name of that movie? Gosh, dang it. Soul Food. I'm sorry, guys. Soul food. So,
you got there's a lot in there, man. So it's okay. It's okay.
So they were the guys. So let me back up real quick. So Charles King, I don't know if you know who Charles King is. I love this brother. Charles King was an agent, William Morrison, and now it's called William Morris Endeavor. He's the first black agent to become a partner of a major agency in the history of Hollywood.
Wow. That's the movie right there, by the way.
That's the movie. He's a cold-blooded dude. And while at William Morris, he was seeing projects that weren't getting made. He's the guy that brought Tyler Perry to the scene. He's from Atlanta. He was seeing them tapes that Tyler Perry was making. He brought him to William Morris and met with Tyler, and they met with Lionsgate, and history was made.
Wow.
And so Charles...
It's always somebody that got to believe in you, man.
You got to have that. So Charles had been knowing me since Def Pictures. When I was at Def Pictures, he was in the mail room at William Morris. And so we would be at these events. He was a brother, always wore a suit. I was always enamored by this guy because he was always there. It was on. I was like, how you even get here? But eventually he became this maverick, right? And he left William Morris Endeavor and started a company called Macro. And Macro made the movie Fences, Mudbound, and the movie about the Black Panther, Judas and the Priest.
Wow, yeah.
Messiah, Judas, Judas. And all of those movies nominated for an Academy Award. But prior to him getting there, he was at William Morris. I knew him, and I called over. I said, this is Tyrone Dixon and Preston Holmes. We want to have a meeting with you. And he said, cool. I pitch him the idea about a roller skating movie first. And he said, I know the perfect people for you to go. So he set up the meeting with Bob and George. And that's how that happened. So while my movie was in the festival market, I ran into Bob Title at Film Festival, Pan-African Film Festival in LA. And he saw my poster and all that. I saw him looking at my poster. And I was like, yo, what's happening? He's like, yo, what's happening with that screenplay? I said, we're working on it. It's coming together. And he's like, yo, I think we may have found something. Let's have a meeting. So I get called in and to have a meeting with Bob and George. I get to their office on Fox's lot. They have nice offices. And I come in, I go, hi, I'm Tyrone, and I'm meeting with Bob. And I say, oh, it's a pleasure to meet you. And everybody was showing me all this love. I was like, wow, this is interesting. So, but as I'm walking through, I'm noticing something. A DVD with a white top on it. It says 20th Century Fox. And it says 8 Wheels of some Soul Brother music. Boy, don't you know I got hot. Because I was looking at every desk. On every desk, my movie was there. So they illegally copied my movie and had their name on it.
What? Oh, my goodness.
So I have this meeting. They say, look, we want to work with you on this film. We need your help. We've got Malcolm Lee directing it. And I love Malcolm. And he wants to meet you. Right? I come to find out that they were going to try to make this movie without me. They were actually going to use my film as reference material to go out and make the movie.
Wow.
When Malcolm saw the documentary and heard that they had not reached out to me, he was pissed. So he reached out to me and said, I don't know shit about roller skating. I know as a kid, but obviously, you know this world, I can't make the movie without you. And that's how I became a producer on the movie.
Wow. First, Hollywood is dirty, but I'm glad the brother came through.
Brothers came through. Bob and George, I'll never forget at the end of the day, I started off as the assistant to the director, right? I drove him around every day, and before you know it, they were like, everybody on set, this is Tyrone's movie. Even though Norman Vance wrote the screenplay, everything, the way the movie looks, the way it feels, everything, the skaters, all came from my documentary.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
So it was
your movie.
It was my movie.
Essentially.
It was lightning in the bottle, getting all these people there and making it happen. But when they saw my value, You know, I was operating camera. The DP would say, you operate C camera.
Now, as a producer, are you supposed to be doing that? Because the producer, in my opinion, in Hollywood, and just clarify for me, is you're there as just opinion giving, or is producing more than that when it comes to movies?
It's a little bit more than that. I mean, I think obviously in the first stages in the development, producers are putting out these ideas and, you know, getting it all locked in. And once the movie gets greenlit, a creative producer just basically is there to champion the project and see everybody. We need the line producer is the person that's actually managing the budget, managing the crew with doing the production manager, and doing all of the day-to-day stuff. So I have all that experience.
Yes.
But I became a second unit director on the film. There would be scenes that needed to get shot. We were running out of time.
So you had to go shoot it.
I would go shoot it with another camera department, and Malcolm would be shooting the acting stuff. If Bow Wow was skating and throwing the newspaper, you know, I'm filming the newspaper hitting the water. I'm filming the newspaper hitting the people and all of that kind of jazz. And then when we shot skating, you know, I would push the camera on a skateboard, long stick attached to the skateboard, and I would skate with it. We had another camera guy who I loved. He could skate too, and so he would get the camera, and then I would you know, stand behind him and skate behind him and make sure that he doesn't fall. And I'm looking through the lens, not the lens, but they have a monitor there, and I'm saying no to the left or to the right, or you know, get the skates now, and because Malcolm is far away in the video village, so I'm kind of directing what the camera should be doing with the skates. And so I thank Malcolm Lee for giving me that room, and the DP for trusting me with camera C. And you know, so when I didn't have to do any of that, you know, but they wanted the movie to be as much mine as it was Malcolm.
That's cool.
And so I was able to extend myself as much as I possibly could. Most of the music, we would get CDs from the music supervisor, and me and Malcolm would be in the car every day, and I would say, Malcolm, this is a roller skating song. That's not.
Yeah, because you have to know that it's not just you can play any song and it works in a roller skating.
That's right.
It's particular music that you have to play.
Especially at period, it was 1979, so we wanted to keep it within that range. And he didn't know, so I had to, and then I would take music and share it with the DJs I knew, and they would send back, you know, other options for us.
Wow.
And that was a huge thing, right? But even in post-production, once we finished shooting the film, Malcolm was editing it in New York. He lives in New York. And so they had to do sound design, sound mix, and Foley, and ADR, and all that kind of stuff, right? So somebody had to go and direct that, right? So there were people in, we would have a big recording studio, and we have a bunch of people in there acting like they were skating, right? Whistling and cheering, you know, all of this back, and I'm the one directing them through this.
Wow.
And making sure it sounds right. I go into the Foley room. Is this the way?
And explain it real briefly. Okay. Yeah.
Well, so Foley is allowing you to put sound, to replace sound when you didn't get it right when you shot it.
Gotcha.
Right? So maybe we were recording the sound of the roller skates. You know, we were shooting skating and we would get the sound, but we really wanted to do a close-up shot on the skates. We really want to hear those skates. So, you know, I would have to have skaters in the room. They have microphones on the floor, and they would just skate around and hockey stop and make all of these different sounds, right? And then we placed them in the movie. That was a part of the process that I had to do while Malcolm was in New York editing the story. And these pieces would get to him. So Robounce gave me the opportunity to do everything I could possibly do. And then once the movie was finished, they hired me to help with, to be a consultant on marketing the film.
Wow.
They didn't do much of what I said, but but you know, they were doing their very best to make sure.
Movie did pretty good, in the box office. Yeah, it's a classic.
Okay. It's a classic now, but they wanted to hit the box office, and that was going to be a big deal. But you know, it did great. You know, as far as I'm concerned.
Right, absolutely.
But you know, having from the Rudy to the Tootie.
Yeah.
Right? It was an experience that I will never forget. And having that experience made me say, oh, this is what I want to do from now on. I don't want to be I want to develop the show. I want to get it greenlit. I want to do all of those things, right? And create opportunities for other people the way Malcolm Lee and Bob and George did for me. By just believing in the idea of a story about black people roller skating. That was even...
That was a great movie, man. If whoever's looking at this, you stop here now, go find out where Roll Bounce is. It should be on one of the 3,000 channels that we now have.
I think it's on Disney Plus, or it's on Disney.
Is it on Disney Plus? Okay.
Well, Disney bought 20th Century Fox, so...
And they own the picture.
So they own the picture.
Gotcha.
And so right now what I'm doing is a 2-part series on the making of Roll Bounce. So
you?
I shot 100 hours footage. They allowed me. So I hired a team of people to shoot.
This is when the movie was being shot back in the day.
Being shot, yes.
So why'd you wait all this time to?
Well, first off, it was going to be a second DVD to the DVD release of the film, and that was the reason why they were allowing me to do it in the first place. The movie didn't hit #1 at the box office like they expected it.
So they just.
And so we're not going to put any more money into it. But I own the footage. So I didn't know what, I got busy doing other things. And I just put those tapes away. And pandemic happened. And I didn't know what I was going to be doing with my time. So I pulled those tapes out and started watching them. And thank God, prior to that, I would bring those tapes here and have my students digitize them for me.
Wow.
And so I really just pulled out a drive.
And you could watch it.
And I watched, and I hadn't watched this stuff in 10 years or so. And I wasn't even watching when they were digitized. I was doing other things, just make sure this gets digitized. And man, I said, I was right. There's a story here. And then as I started making it, editing it, I said, I have two. It's too much to just tell in one story. So I have 2 1-hour and 10-minute documentaries.
They're already done?
The second one is 3/4 away done with the second one.
Okay.
First of the year, it should be ready. And I'm thinking February, Black History Month, maybe it comes out no later than March. I'm going to have these 2 pieces come out.
Have you already secured those deals? And
No.
Okay.
What I did was I chose to tell the movie as it was. I didn't go and interview Bow Wow again, or a Journey again.
Why didn't you?
Because I'd already done it. I interviewed him in the process of making the movie.
So it's nostalgic. It's very nostalgic piece. And so no updates from
the only
whatever happened to Bow Wow.
The only person that is, I'm doing that. So I'm in the piece narrating it through.
Okay, gotcha.
And then at the end, I say, this is, look at Bow Wow, look at Journey now, and da-da-da-da, and blah, blah, blah.
Since the movies,
our own Black Brat Pack.
So you don't even know where it might end up at. It could end up on any network.
I'm expecting that my goal is to make a deal with Disney.
Okay.
And we do a whole big deal about it, right? We air the documentaries, but in airing the documentaries, we do a follow-up where the actors actually watch the documentaries, and then we interview them after.
Nice.
You know, how was it like seeing yourself? Bow Wow could watch this piece with his daughter.
Wow. Nice.
You know?
Yeah.
They all have a Journey can watch it with her kids. Right? She was 16 years old. She's a movie star. She's a star.
Yeah.
Right? And I made that choice because I said, one, this is going to be better storytelling because it's already there. 2, why spend more money on going out and getting these interviews? It's going to take longer to get it done. I've got to get Bow Wow's schedule. I got to do all of this. And it just, I didn't think we needed to do that. So I kept it as authentic as I possibly could. I'm updating it, and I'm the one that's telling the story. And then I have Matthew Knowles. As you know, Matthew did the soundtrack.
I don't remember that.
Roll Bounce.
I'm going to have to go back and look at the CD.
Music World did the soundtrack.
Wow.
And, Matthew was one of my original mentors. He was the one to convince me to move to California. I used to model for him at Headliners in their hair magazines. And I would just Beyonce was 10, 11, whatever. The girls were young, running around Headliners. And he was talking about his dreams, and I was talking about mine. And he was like, yo, go. And he's the one who, while I was doing my thing, Destiny's Child was doing their thing.
Absolutely.
And had no idea until he and I reconnected. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, man, I'm doing the making. He was like, what are you doing? And I told him about what I was doing. And he was like, oh, you know I did the soundtrack. You're not going to interview me? I was like, wait a minute. You did the soundtrack? How are you going to be my mentor? And we work on the same film, and we don't even know it until years later. So I'm going to have him. He and I are going to be sitting and reflecting at the end.
Nice.
Right? Just talking about our relationship and how we got here. And so now all that music is with Eddie Caldwell and this company called Music of the Sea. Mm-hmm. So I meet Eddie at Matthew's house, and I tell Eddie about what I'm doing. He's like, you got to use my company. I got all the music you need, and I got the soundtrack. I was like, what? Because I was like, man, that made a decision for me, because I was going to have to spend money on that. I got to spend money on clips from the movie, and I got to spend money on those songs.
That's right.
And I didn't know how I was going to get that done, but I was going to work it out. God is good.
All the time.
Delivered me the freaking album.
Wow.
Every song on that album, if I so choose to use it, I can. Right? But I'm using very specific songs from from the soundtrack. And that's where we are now with it. I'm like, I'm gung ho to get it done.
You have a life that sounds so, it's easy when you hear someone telling their story. It all sounds almost too good to be true. Although there's bad moments in it, you know what I'm saying? But how's this guy bouncing back from all these, like, even at your lowest, you're still bouncing back and you're not stopping. And I'm just curious, why is there never, ever any stoppage? Or you start looking at yourself and you get down on yourself? I don't hear any of that in your story. It seems to have been forward movement, even through your worst times, even with, being on crack. It's still forward movement. I don't hear any, I can't hear this stopped me from achieving.
Right.
Nowhere in this. I've not heard that ever since you've been talking.
I think that, there are definitely moments where and my wife can tell you the story better and my kids could tell you the story better, because I have anxiety about, not being busy or not doing the things that I know other people are expecting me to do. I've done some things in Hollywood where other people are going, well, where's Dixon? What is he doing? That is always running in the back of my head. And I think more importantly, having grown up the way I did and having had some of the trials I've had, I found a space of passion that I knew that television and film was what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I didn't know how it was going to be, but I just knew it. And because of my moves have been driven by my passion, and that's why you don't hear that, and I don't hear I've ever felt sorry for myself, or I'm not blessed, or I can't hear that in none of your stories. Like, and you almost seem amazed at what you're doing. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this shit. I mean, that's the way it sounds to me. Like, I got in my car, I went to California. First I was making this much. Next week I'm making this much. This is crazy. I'm living my best life. Yeah.
And you're enjoying this climb. It just does. I don't hear the.
I always bought into the fact that I was going to have to fall in love with the journey of this, and not in my specific accomplishments. And so I want to stay on the journey.
Yes, sir.
Whatever that means. If that's teaching young people how to make film and television and how to be executives in this industry, specifically teaching at an HBCU, which is what I
where'd that swing come from? Because I don't know how do you? I'm producing, I'm directing. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm a teacher too. I'm teaching.
Well, when the strike happened, and I applied to the PhD program, I got a call from he was the dean of the School of Communication
at TSU.
Mm-hmm. And he, Dr. Ward, James Ward, he was, hey man, I just need you for a semester. Can you come and teach a class or two for one semester? I talked to my wife about it. I thought it would be a great idea because I'm starting my PhD. I can be around other academicians, and this will be good for me. And
but you are in California.
I'm in California. Okay. One semester, my wife and I agreed I could hang out with my parents and my family and connect, and my wife and kid could come visit or whatever. We thought it would be cool. And then one semester turned into another. And then it turned into 4 years.
Yes, sir.
And so in 2014, I stopped coming back here because my wife and I got pregnant again. And then I started teaching at the New York Film Academy.
Wow.
I could not make a film while I was getting my PhD. That was the film. I would not have a PhD if I tried to work on movies at the same time. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to stay busy and I wanted to stay active. And so I felt like TSU gave me the opportunity to, keep my chops up and discover my purpose.
Yes,
and my God-given purpose is to teach. And then God wants me here. I want to be in Hollywood. And we figured out a way to make it work. Mm-hmm. Right?
He'll do that.
My passion meeting my purpose.
Yes, sir.
And
that's what the podcast is all about. Purpose and passion.
That's it. And I think that is what's keeping me moving now. Right? And I have an 8-year-old. I have a 3-year-old grandbaby now. My 16-year-old son, growing up in this industry and seeing all of the people that I know and having access and blah, blah, blah. I don't ever want that to go away. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Doing this podcast, my kids are going to love it.
You know what's so funny about you, though? You don't carry, I'm a star producer or director, or I've done this kind of like on your shoulder. With a lot of people, it's a badge. And as soon as they walk up, you see the badge. You don't carry the badge of, I've made it and done some really cool shit. You understand what I'm saying? You do not care. Like, when you walked up here, because for those that don't know, this is completely accidental. He walked by me, hey, Hatta, I need to get with you. Huh? Brother, I ain't seen you in, I don't know how many years.
Right. Since
and I'm like, so I'm not expecting to see him. I'm at the university too. I don't know that you're even here. It's never been a whisper. So I'm completely floored by all of this. I'm like, I'm not about to let this major director go back and I can't talk to him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But you just don't wear it. You're 1,000% the way. However I last saw you, however many years ago it was, you're 1,000% the same. And what happens oftentimes seems to me that people go to these new spaces and they become something different.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, my sponsors or mentors, Preston Holmes and Dwight Williams, helped. And Debbie Allen, spending 2 years with Debbie Allen helped ground me. Because she would say, you ain't shit. Right? I'm not shit. We're here living our lives, doing our purpose and our passion, meeting our purpose, and we want to work together and make sure that continues to happen. We all want to stay in the game.
Yes, sir.
My relationship with Debbie, so we were doing the show, and Debbie invited me for Thanksgiving because I wasn't going to go home for Thanksgiving, and my previous wife and I, we were separated at the time, and they were back in Texas, and I wasn't going home for Thanksgiving because I was going to go home for Christmas. So she invited me over. So her nephew, Bill Bowles, and I got really tight. And we would hang out. And it was Felicia's son. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, yeah, cool. I get to hang out with Bill. And me and Norm Nixon had gotten tight.
Okay.
And so I was like, this be cool. So I get there. Debbie's cooking and making it happen. And just making it feel like, I'm at Debbie Allen's house, Norm Nixon's house. This is crazy. And it feels like it's my parents' house.
Right.
It feels like it was a black family.
Yeah.
It was
doubt.
Cool.
Right.
So time went on. I got there about 2:00 in the afternoon. About 7 p.m., we're all like, when are we going to eat? And Debbie kept saying, just wait. Just wait. We have guests coming, and when they get here, that's when we'll sit down and eat. And she didn't tell us who was coming. Doorbell rang. Coretta Scott and all of her children walked through the door.
Wow. What
Coretta
history.
and Vivian, Debbie's mother, were really good friends. And so it was really about the two of them connecting and having that moment, but the other kids came, and we had Thanksgiving dinner. It was one of the most amazing things. At the time, we didn't have cell phones to take pictures. I wasn't even thinking about taking the photos. Because you're there, right? You're just
in that moment.
In that moment. And me and Dexter King, we talked. We connected so much. At about 2 o'clock in the morning, everybody else is gone. Me and Dexter in the living room, Debbie has to basically kick us out. We go outside. We walk to his car. We keep talking for about another hour. Debbie has to come outside and say, if you don't get from in front of my house, you're in Santa Monica.
Right.
It's over.
You got to go.
And so I got my car, Dexter got in his car. We stayed in contact because he wanted to be a screenwriter as well. And, so again, I could have never, ever imagined that not only was I trying to chase Debbie Allen because I saw her name on the thing at school, or that I left Houston because she was there. Had no idea it would translate into a friendship, a relationship. I watched her daughter grow up and her son Thump, and watching him do his thing. And some days I feel like that.
It's not
did that
real.
Really happen?
Yeah.
Am I really there?
You enjoy it too. That's what I love about you. It's like you just as surprised. Like it's like you're outside of yourself, looking like, man, this is crazy.
It is. And one of the craziest things. So Prince is my favorite artist of all time. When I was in high school, I acted like I was Prince. I wanted to be Prince. I wanted to. Yeah. So I worked on this movie called Something New with Sanaa Lathan, and the director Sanaa Hammer and I got tight. She had to pass a kidney stone or whatever last week of the movie. They would not shut the movie down. She had to finish the last week of the movie. So we put her in the trailer. We put monitors in the trailer, and I would be in there massaging her for the pain, but watching the monitors with her, and then calling back on the walkie-talkie to tell the first AD what to do and to tell the actors. So felt like kind of like the last week of the movie, I was co-directing.
Yeah.
And we developed a strong relationship. She was beautiful and she was fine, and she respected the fact that I didn't take advantage of her, while massaging her. That I didn't take that to mean something else.
Yeah. I got you.
And so we're at the premiere of the movie. I'm having a great time. Prince is at the premiere because they're friends. She got in the game by directing Prince's music videos and stuff like that. She was an editor.
Wow.
And Prince was in a space where she worked and walked past her, met her, and like, yo, you gonna work for me now. And so that's kind of how that happened. And then they became best friends and blah, blah, blah. So I had a great time at the premiere. So I'm leaving. I just so happened to be walking out the door at the same time Sanaa Hammer and her boyfriend and Big D, her bodyguard guy, was walking out. And I said, thank you. This was awesome. The movie's going to be great. It's going to do great. She's like, but where are you going? I said, I'm going home. And she was like, did you want to go listen to Prince? He's playing at I think it was at the Whiskey A Go-Go or the Roxy. One of those two on Sunset. And I go, sure.
Yeah. You don't turn that down.
So I call my wife, tell her I'm not coming home right now. I'm going to go watch Prince. And it's going to be. So I get to the club. I'm in there. This is like, Prince is like right where you are. I'm this close. And he's playing the guitar, but he's playing behind a woman. It was a female band. And you may know this young lady. Tamar Davis.
I do. Love her. Calls herself Ashley now.
Right?
Ashley Tamar. Yeah.
I love that. So Tamar is doing her thing. And
She
Prince
bad.
is playing behind her.
She bad.
Just making it happen, right? I'm like, I don't know Tamar. I'm just looking at Prince. I'm looking at her. She's dope. The band was dope. Female drummer, whatever. I was like, oh, man, it's great. I'll let my wife listen on the phone. It's just great, right? So at about 2 o'clock, it's over. I'm like, man, that was awesome. I went to thank them, and they was like, well, where you going now? I said, well, I'm going home. The party's over, right? You want to go to 3121? And at the time, I just knew it was the title of an album.
It's Prince's Club, right?
No, it was his address to his house.
Oh, wow.
That he'd gotten from the basketball player.
Where he went in and changed the whole house and made it purple and all that. Yeah, we've heard that story.
So I left my car there where it was parked. I said, if it gets towed, it gets towed. because I don't want to miss this. So I ride with Sanaa and her boyfriend to go up to the house. It's everything that I thought it would be.
Absolutely.
We pull out, I get out, I cannot believe I'm walking into Prince's house now. This is out of control, Tyrone. This is wild. So we get in there, and it's only about 20 of us. And I'm walking around, and we in a certain area, and I remember Puffy talking about his time being in Prince's house. He couldn't believe he was there. He said he took his shoes off and walked around Prince's house with his shoes off and shot pool and all that kind of stuff, right? So I did exactly that. I took my shoes off. I beat everybody on the pool table. And we had to wait for Prince. We were just there. I'm like, when is the thing gonna happen? And all of a sudden, these beautiful French girls walk in with DJ gear, and they walk into this room, which is long room, the purple curtains and the couches on the side. It was a very long room, and we're all escorted there. So we go into the long room and we sit down talking, and girls start playing music I've never heard, amazing music. Then Prince comes in, and everybody's excited. Everything is moving. I'm talking to Sanaa Hamri's bodyguard. I'm so excited. and then a lady comes and sits next to me, and she says, "What's your name?" I said, "I'm Tyrone." And she says, "What did you do?" I said, "Well, I worked on a movie and I did this and da-da-da-da." And I said, "So what do you do?" She said, "Oh, that's my daughter, Tamar, who was singing at the deal."
The mom, yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, yeah." I was like, "Where are you guys from?"
Hit you with the Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. I said, "I'm from Houston." I said, "What high school did you go to?" She said, "Jack Yates." I said, "Well, I went to Yates." And we lost it. Right? It was just so I met Tamar, and we couldn't believe it. 3 Houstonians in the house. So I'm floored. So I'm sitting there. I just can't believe I'm there. I'm watching Prince dance with Sanaa Hamri. People are dancing. And it's a small party in a big-ass room. Sanaa walks over to me and says, she leans over and says, "Prince says, if you don't get up and dance, you're going to have to leave."
I heard he does this to people. This is, yeah.
I looked at D, and I said, "What?" I danced all right next to his ass. I did the splits. I did everything he was doing, I was doing. And we had a great fun. You know who else was there? Larry Graham. Larry Graham was there. And Mavis Staples was there.
Wow.
It was a thing.
What a party.
At 7 a.m, we're all getting ready to leave. Girls stop playing the music. We're in the foyer, and some guy brings Prince a computer. Prince sits down at the computer, and at first he was just watching us at the top of the stairway, watching Larry kind of hold it down. Larry was making a beat and making noises, and Mavis was singing to it, and we were just all like a whole little hold down. It was. I was like, "Oh, this is freaking amazing." So Prince comes downstairs, sits at this computer, and I go over to Prince and I say, "Man, thank you for allowing me to be here." He said, "Man, you were great. You're a good dancer." And I was like, "Man, I appreciate that." I said, "You roller skate?" He said, "Yeah, I roller skate. I love to roller skate." I said, "You should," and I couldn't get "you should" out really well before he said, "I shouldn't do anything." And he giggled after it. I said, and I think I said, "You gotta." That's what I said. "You gotta." He said, "I don't gotta do anything." Right? I said, No. I made a movie called 8 Wheels and Some Soul Brother Music, and Roe Bounce is coming out, and I produced that movie, and I would love for you to watch 8 Wheels and Some Soul Brother Music. Prince says to me, "Bring it by the house tomorrow. I may not be here, but drop it off." We leave. I get to my car. My car is still there. It's not towed.
It's a good night.
Now, I'm driving down Sunset, heading east. Sun is rising, and I cannot believe it. Hatta, I'm right?
Just at Prince house.
I said, I'm going to work with him. It's going to happen, right? And right when he got his music back, right, Warner Brothers, I was teaching at the New York Film Academy, which is directly across from the old Warner Brothers building. Now it's Warner Brothers Television. And my wife's office is in there. My wife's physical office is where Prince signed his contract in that building. So anyway, I'm like, yeah, he's right there. they got Prince all over the place because he's made his deal with Warner Brothers. He's got his music back, and they all happy go lucky. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get to his ass. I'm gonna get to him. And then he dies.
Oh man.
And that was. I cried. I boo-hooed. I cried. It was my favorite artist.
Yeah.
But having had that opportunity, I get down on myself sometimes, and because I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, and it takes my wife to just every once in a while remind me. You remember that time we talked on the phone while you were on your way home from Prince's house? And I'd be like, yeah. She's like, you know how many people have had the opportunity to kick it with Prince? And I'm like, yeah, not many people. Like, you really kicked it with him, Tyrone. You danced right next to him in his house. Like, who gets to do that? Just to, like, oh, okay, I guess I'm all right. Because I'm not doing the movies Malcolm is doing. I'm not where Charles is, but I want to be. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Shoot, I've been at this game. This kid comes out and makes Black Panther. He's, you know what I mean?
Out of here.
So all of those types of things come into your space.
Right. And that's what I was asking you about, because you never seemed down about it. So it's interesting to hear you say, every once in a while, you get down on yourself like, bro, we've been doing this for a good little minute. Not that you're comparing yourself to the young cats coming out doing big things, but you're like, I feel like there's some moves out there that I should have made.
Actually, that's exactly how I feel.
But it's cool to know that you do have somebody in your life that says, bro, stop tripping.
Yeah.
Because you're way further along.
Yeah.
Than a lot of other people. And I always like to tell people, I always say to myself that one old school song, you got to be thankful for what you got.
Yeah.
You got to William Devon all the time. About to give it to Raheem. But William Devon, you got to be thankful for what you got, because you got probably way more than other people. What you've accomplished is amazing. And now you're at this university, and a lot of this stuff inside of you have the opportunity. Because sometimes all the great don't happen for you.
That's right.
You might leave it and your kid get it, and next thing you know, your kid is the biggest, whatever. Or it might be some kid on this campus that you touch.
That's right.
And, God forbid, but you may not get to see this human being become that.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right. So,
you got to be thankful at all times. But like I said, I don't see that beat up on myself side of you. And not that you're supposed to wear it, but you seem to be very thankful, and you move in a very thankful manner. And you always got ideas. And I mean, there's a lot of projects that you're working on that most certainly you can't talk about, obviously. But, you're doing big things, and you've accomplished a lot. Even if you stop today, the accomplishments that have been made can never, ever be erased from history.
I was reading my CV. I was updating my CV, and I had a moment with myself because, again, I don't talk to myself about what I do and what I've done. And I look at my CV and I go,
this boy from Third Ward, CUNY Homes.
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
Did all of this and is still doing it.
That's right.
I got a book I'm working on. I've got to do these things.
And I think you got some pretty exciting stuff coming. And I'm sorry, y'all. None of them we can talk about. I understand how it works in Hollywood, and I love this guy, so I can't. But you know what? Your biggest thing probably has not been done yet. And I think some of the stuff that you're doing are things that will touch people that you probably won't ever see big money from.
Right.
But, man, it will probably change people's lives and help them.
Right. That's what my wife says to me all the time, because what I will do is be like, yo, I need to make more money. And my wife will be like, what are you talking about? I just feel like I need to make more money.
Oh my God, you sound like me. Jeez.
You are touching people's lives. Dude, you're doing something that you can't, there's not enough money in the world to pay you to do. These other people's, your former students that you have, they're having children, buying homes, having careers. You were part of creating that.
Yes, sir.
That's where you get your wealth from.
Yeah.
You know,
but sometimes we're looking at it from a monetizing numerical standpoint of what when we look at our bank account, what we expect to be in there. But sometimes it comes in other forms, and yeah, you just got a lot to be thankful for. You do, and then you know what? And then you're doing this one program at the university. I want you to say something about that right quick because you're trying to develop this program that you talk. I don't know if you can talk about that.
I can talk about that program. Yes. Okay. Oh yeah, definitely.
Because I just think it'll help a lot of people because you're in the business and you don't even realize it. You're in the business. You probably are not super there because you keep thinking about what you can do with your passion that is helping people.
Other people. Yeah.
So sometimes there's not the big bucks in that, but there's the big bucket of heart, purpose in that. I don't know how to put it into words.
Malcolm X said it the best, but by association.
Yes, sir.
Now, I get to have a lot of experiences and opportunities because I'm associated with folk.
Absolutely.
And that is huge.
Yes, sir.
Like I'm hanging out with, and I started saying this because I'm hanging out with Matthew a lot more, and you know, he's got plenty of money. So I want to be able to, you know, really hang out. But I'm with you on that. I mean, I really feel like the young people that I connect with here keep me grounded and keep me honest. And I was so happy to hear you come to this school.
Well, thank you.
Because I said, now that's what we need is somebody that the young folks.
But I really want to do things, and sometimes there's already a mechanism in place as to how things work.
Yeah.
And probably like you, because I know you're the type of person you like to shake up.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out how can I really serve my purpose here?
Yeah.
And shake some stuff up and change some lives and see some young folks do some incredible things. And I think that's what you do. So I thank you for saying that about me, but I'm still trying to figure out how I can do that within the walls that I'm in.
Well, I think the podcast is one of those things, and having people like myself share, like this project that I'm working on with TSU right now is called, it is a production payroll accounting certificate program. Cast and crew and entertainment partners are two of the leading companies, finance companies that work with television and film and all entertainment actually, but you want to pay people through them, right? So when I started off as an accountant, I developed relationships with these people. I cast and crew and entertainment partners, and that's kind of how I got into my space. So my wife went to Howard, studied accounting, and she wanted to work for Warner Brothers Television. That's what she's been doing for the past 25 years. She would leave and quit. They call her back, right? I mean, it was just an amazing thing to see. So I've been around this space, and so we're seeing that there's a shortage. There's a shortage of production accounts. There's a shortage of ADs. There's a shortage of production managers, especially when it comes to people of color. So, again, but by association, now she works with these companies. They're all trying to buy for more of Warner Brothers business, and she's the person they got to talk to. And so I would go to these basketball games or baseball games, and these people would be interested in me. And we understand you're a filmmaker, and what else do you do? And tell us about the teaching thing. Tell us about your PhD. And so I do all of that, and then say, well, one of the things I'm working on is I would love to see this happen. So I pitched the idea to the vice president of these companies and the president of these companies. They were like, oh yeah, we love it. And because they don't know how to reach the people. And I'm saying, let's do this. We'll do it virtually, 16-week program. People are going to learn how to do payroll accounting. Going to be a payroll clerk and make $2,000 a week starting.
For movies
and television.
Wow.
And you can do it from wherever you are.
Wow.
Because it's all automated. It's all digital today, and there's no paper trail.
No, hold on, man. Note to self: go back to school. Do this program. Cool. All right. Now go ahead.
So Dr. Tanisha Taylor received a Mellon grant. It's a big deal. It's a $3 million Mellon grant.
Okay.
And $750,000 of it came to our school. and she's starting a Center for Africana Futures. It's all about Black digital humanities, having a space where our history is stored as research material. It's not just documented for documentation's sake, but it's there for a pool of researchers to use.
That's right.
For future stuff. And that's how I got the Barbara Jordan project off the ground. She gave me an initial grant to start the research process that we would share with the center, and that research is going to help me get the movie made.
Gotcha.
Right. So now we're running the payroll production certificate program through the center, and we've spoken with both cast and crew and entertainment partners. We're getting ready to do a memorandum of understanding, and it's going to start in March. And
can people can they apply for this?
Yes, there's going to be the Center for Africana Futures has a website. If you go to the TSU's website and go to School of Communication, you will see the website for this center.
Okay.
And all of the information about signing up for this program will be on that website.
What is it again?
The Center for Africana Futures.
But they can go through the Do you know the TSU?
I don't know. It's tsu.edu, and then it'll go to School of Communication. Boom, a whole new thing will pop up on the School of Communication.
Okay.
And then you will see a tab to click on for the Center for Africana Futures.
And then they can apply there. Okay.
We're looking to get this thing up and running and started in March.
So they need to hurry and jump on it.
It's a pilot program.
Okay.
There's a cost to it. We think $2,500 to $3,000, and some people are going to be able to get scholarships. We're getting sponsors to help make that happen. And our goal is to duplicate this, or replicate it rather, at every other HBCU in the country.
Nice.
So that there's a portal of opportunity for people of color to work in these executive ranks or in these finance spaces in the television and film industry. And the very first thing you got to know how to do is learn payroll, like I did.
Gotcha. I like it, man.
You know what I mean?
So y'all go TSU, I want to say .edu.
Yeah, tsu.edu.
Yeah.
And then they have all of the schools listed. You click on the School of Communication, and then on that page, you'll see a link to the Center for Africana Futures, and that's where all the information is.
Dr. Dixon, I appreciate your time. But before I let you go, this is going to probably be the dumbest question, but I just got to understand it. At the beginning of movies, there's always this is a such and such film. Then it goes to another guy or whoever. It's a film by this person. And then it might even be a third screen that comes up. Why, whose film is the film, actually?
That's a very good question. Because, so I'll give you a really good example.
Thank you.
With Roll Bounce, State Street is its own company.
Okay.
And it is the company that developed the project for 20th Century Fox. They have two companies underneath the big umbrella of 20th Century Fox, Fox Searchlight and Fox 2000. These are separate entities. Fox Searchlight distributes the projects.
Okay.
Fox 2000 produces the projects.
Okay.
State Street produces as well as develop the projects.
Okay.
And so when the movie opens up, you're going to see State Street Pictures, Fox 2000.
So how do I determine when I see this? And I know this is dumb, and I'm sorry, y'all, but every time I see movies, I just want to know, whose movie is it? Is it this one guy who had the idea for the movie? He took it there. So it's a Dr. Tyrone Dixon film.
Well, a lot of times it'll say this is a Tyrone D. Dixon film. But that means that I'm the director and I have
the idea
ownership to it.
Right.
Other times it'll say directed by.
Right.
That means I was hired.
Right.
To direct.
Absolutely.
Right. Other times you'll see it say produced by. That's usually the creative producer. That's the one who. So for Roll Bounce, it said produced by Bob Title and George Tillman.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because it was their company that said, "Hey guys, let's make this movie."
And the money people or person is executive producer.
That's right.
Now, can you be an executive producer on these movies and not even spend a dime? You just might get executive producer.
Well, on the studios, that's how it happens. So they will assign an executive to be in charge of making sure that
they're the ones that thought that this was a hot movie.
Right. So you get executive producer credit because you represent the money people. Line producers get executive producer credit because they manage the money. Right?
Because I've seen some movies and there are like 8 to 9 executive producers.
That was executives from studios. The studio was giving them the money, but these are executives that work at the studio or that works for this independent production entity. And their job is to go out and get the movie greenlit, find money. And if you can find money, you're an executive producer. If you provide money, you're an executive producer.
So what side?
If you manage the money, you're an executive producer.
What side is the best side to be on?
You want to be the development person. You want to be the one who makes the project. You want to be State Street. You want to be Macro.
Okay.
Right? So Macro has a deal with Warner Brothers and has a television deal with Warner Brothers. But Warner Brothers is acting as their distributor.
But if I'm Macro, so to speak, I own it.
You own it.
Okay.
Well, you control the master.
Exactly. That's what I want. I want that.
Now,
that's
when
what I
it
want.
goes into distribution, Warner Brothers gets control of that master for 10 years. And
that's the deal that we
That's the deal we made.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that 10-year period, the movie comes back.
It reverts back.
That's what happened with John Singleton in Hustle and Flow, which is a movie I participated in. He made that movie for $3 million or $3.2 million of his own money, and took it to Sundance, sold that movie. It's the highest selling movie at the time for any other movie in the history of Sundance. Sold it for $11, $12 million to Paramount. Now, Paramount owns the movie now, right? They own the license to the movie for 10 years. That was a while ago.
Right. So
Hustle and Flow came back to John.
Wow.
And now he manages where it gets aired. And all of the money comes directly to him. So
it would be his, because you said John Singleton, so it would be his estate.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Right? So Hulu wants, if they want the film, they got to pay for it. They got to pay a licensing fee for a period of time, and they will have it. And then when they're done with it, they send it back, and then they will go to HBO.
Bro,
and it just goes on and on and on.
This Hollywood movie money just make me scratch, man.
That's why you want to be in that ownership. That's why I want to be like a Charles King or like Bob and George. You know what I mean? They can go out there and get movies made and actually create a library for themselves and their legacy moving forward. They're not people hired freelancers. They're owners of what it is that they're doing. And that's my goal. That's my goal, to be that person that's managing, the master.
Absolutely. What's your project that you got on the table that you can at least say, look for this in the coming year?
Hardwood Classic, The Making of Roll Bounce. It's a retrospective.
Okay.
It's a 2-part docuseries. That's coming out.
Okay.
February, March. I'm in development / production on the Barbara Jordan piece and the Emory Douglas piece. I optioned a screenplay. I optioned a book called The Trials of Ewart Brown. One of my colleagues, Dr. Michael Berryhill, wrote this book. True story about this brother who killed the warden and the warden's farm manager at a Huntsville prison in self-defense. And then Craig Washington, big-time lawyer, graduated from TSU's law school, had to come in and be his defense attorney and save this man's life.
Wow.
So it's a book about that. And so I did a documentary about it, submitted to a couple of festivals. We won big awards. And then I convinced the writer to allow me to start writing a screenplay. And so we have the screenplay based on that. So I'm putting that out in the world, right? And then my big project that I was working on it's called Scouts, The Chronicles of Troop 242. It's a coming-of-age comedy, kind of like Roll Bounce, about a black Boy Scout troop, based on Will Avenue's Boy Scout troop 242. They created more Black Eagle Scouts than any other troop in the nation.
Wow.
And I wanted to tell that story. And I wanted to tell it in a funny way, but I wanted to pay homage to scouting in a big way.
I got you.
That movie was greenlit just before the pandemic. We had a film fund to put up the money, to agree to put up the money. We said, okay, 2 weeks, this is going to last 2 weeks. And they said, oh, it's only going to last 2 months. And then after a while, we can't do this. They had to move that money around. And so now the agent that I'm working with has a relationship with Denzel Washington's agent. And he pitched him the idea. He said, I think Denzel would like this. And so I'm just waiting right now to see if Denzel likes the movie. If he likes it, then we'll probably get that movie made with Denzel attached.
Nice.
I had Lethal Weapon.
Danny Glover?
Danny Glover. I had Danny Glover attached for a minute. He was going to make the movie originally with me, and Loretta Devine, and I had some really cool people. And then, you know, it
I think Miss Devine is from here too.
Yeah, she is. That's one of the reasons why she wanted to do the movie.
Gotcha.
She knew all about Wheel Avenue and all of that kind of jazz. And so, you know,
you can't pick those people back up again.
I can.
Okay,
but it's taking on a new life now.
Yeah.
So now
I feel you
kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
And but those are the projects that I have working on. You know, that I'm consistently working on.
And still being a professor.
Yeah, and teaching. I teach virtually. It's a hybrid thing. So when I'm here, I teach in class. When I'm away, I teach virtually. What that does, it allows me to bring in other people.
Yeah.
I'm able to share the people that I have in LA.
And you do.
And I think that's one of the greatest values of me having the opportunity to be this flexible. Is because my goal is to be that bridge from TSU to Hollywood.
Gotcha.
Not be the bridge, but participate in creating and developing and maintaining that bridge.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's.
I know you're a teacher here, and people, if they really want to get in contact with you, they should just take your class. But if they can't take your class, can people, follow you on social media? I don't know if you do social media.
I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Tyrone D. Dixon, PhD. And I'm on TikTok as 8 Wheels and Some Sort of Other Music.
What you doing on TikTok?
I'm posting roller skating stuff.
Really? Okay.
Getting everybody prepared for. And the last project, which is the most recent thing. Oh man, I forgot to tell you about this. But I'm doing a TV show. It's a docu-series called Hot Skates: The Skate Groove Tour. It is a competition show, kind of like the N1 mixtape tour, where you put these dope street basketball players on the bus and you're traveling around the city to city to compete against that city's best. Well, that's what we're going to do with roller skaters.
Okay.
We're going to find the 10 best roller skaters in the country and travel them around the country to compete against other cities' best. And we'll see who survives the bus. And if they can stay on the bus, at the end they get to compete in internationally, like in Africa or Italy or whatever. And so I have a big meeting with, he's one of the top 5 guys in reality TV, Mike Darnell, at Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers Horizon, right? Warner Brothers Discovery, whatever it is now.
Good luck, brother.
They love the idea. Now I got to go in and knock it out the park. So we're excited. I have a great deck lookbook thing and a sizzle reel, and I've got all of these connections, and so we'll see what happens, man. If there's other people out there wanting to do the same thing. So let me just Malcolm Lee is attached to somebody's show that they're trying to do about roller skating. So I said, what? So I sent Malcolm Lee a message, and he said, I don't keep up with all of that. I did agree, to be attached to something, but I don't know much about it. And I said, well, I'm doing my thing. And he says, well, you do your thing, and I'm going to help you I'm going to do your thing too.
Okay.
And I said, well, that's fine. He was like, he's excited about the Making of Roll Bounce to come out. I post stuff, he doesn't always, respond to stuff I post. But when I posted the trailer for the Making of Roll Bounce, he liked that shit.
Well, he's watching then.
Yeah.
He's watching. He's not far away, man.
He's not. And I really do appreciate everything that he did for me. And I'm very proud of him. I mean, his boys, they were little boys. They were 1 and they could barely walk, right, when he was making the movie. And now seeing his kids getting ready to go to college, and, you know, I knew hanging around him and his sons that I was going to have a son. And that's exactly what happened.
And that's why. Doc, you know what, man, you're absolutely outstanding. You've done tremendous work. I don't ever want you to think that you haven't. I think everyone, even the richest man in the world, always thinks, what can I do to achieve more? I think it's human nature, and we battle it every single day. It's good to have somebody in your ear, though, to remind you whom you are and what you've come from.
Yes.
And to enjoy the moment, because sometimes we're in this place, and I'm speaking not just for you, but for me too. You're in this place, and you just got to look around and be like, wow, this is all right. Quit tripping.
Yeah.
And it could always be worse.
It could always.
And
be
if this
worse.
if this is what your best will ever be, you won.
Yeah. Thank you for that, man.
You absolutely won, Doctor. So I just want to say
that.
I appreciate your time. I know you got tons of stuff here. I know why you're really here in this city, because, you know, you got a parent that you take care of, but you etched away a little bit of time for me. You just don't really know how much I really appreciate it. I wanted you to be able to sit here and tell these fantastic stories that I learned so much listening to you, and I'm inspired, man. And this is totally selfish, this podcast that I do, because I want to learn and be in an environment with people that help me grow and be a better human being. It's all about purpose and passion. And got to ask you just before I even let you finish. Success to Dr. Tyrone Dixon, producer, director extraordinaire, writer, et cetera, so many things. What is that to you? What is success to you?
You know, creating opportunity for other people. I realize that that's my thing. Connecting dots. If I can help you get down the road, I believe in reciprocity.
Yes, sir.
That whether it comes from you, it's going to come from somewhere. But as long as I do my job to make sure I can connect the dot. One of my greatest mentors, Mr. Danny Lawson, may he rest in peace, would always say that wealth is about you having an opportunity to create an opportunity for somebody else. Because I may not be able to give you the money in my pocket, but I can connect you to somebody that can help put some money in your pocket. If I can't do it, then somebody else can, and I want to be a part of that process of making the connections. And being here at TSU has allowed me to do that, and it's amazing. I do it in LA. I got Charles Wright on the radio.
I was moved by that, man. And I hate to say this, I thought that Charles Wright had passed away. For those that don't know, Express Yourself.
Yeah.
That Charles Wright, who's about, what, 82, 83?
82, 83
Still
years
alive, still kicking, still performing.
Performing.
I know you just did a video for him with roller skaters in it, because I know that's your thing and you love it. But it's great to know that he is still alive and kicking, still prosperous, and that was exciting to hear. And then it's cool because even with him, you're a connector.
He don't even pay me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you're a connector, man. So I want you to know, man, your wealth is in your ability to do the things that you're doing, and your spirit is wealthy. You know, you may look in your bank account sometimes and be like, man, this don't equal out to this work I didn't put into life. But man, the energy that you put out there, I can tell, man, you're passionate about everything that you do. You're passionate about these kids and passing on knowledge and stuff like that. Man, it's wealth that you can't even see, bro. And I really, really want you to know that, man. It's your wealth, and some of it you will never see. You won't even know that it's going to be some kid years from now, and it's going to be this one kid probably in the back that you didn't even know touched.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot of human beings that you touched you won't even know, but you did.
That's
so
right.
I just want you to know you are putting that energy out there, and I'm happy for the energy you just gave to me, man. I'm so feel the energy now. I feel like, you know what, I'm gonna go out there and make some things happen today.
Yeah.
So I just want you to know that, man. And again, man, I just appreciate your time and for you to sit down and be able to spread this knowledge. I bet people, when they see this, it was all the stories that you told was so great. And probably some mind-blowing stuff. You said that what? I didn't know that. So again, I appreciate you, Dr. Dixon. And man, continued success, and your wealth you already have it. I just want you to know that's from
man,
me.
I appreciate that very much coming from you. And again, I thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I think there are no coincidences that you and I are here together, and we're gonna shake some things up. Like the president says, we're gonna be disruptive.
Yes, sir.
And get into some good trouble, and make some change, some change that we can spend, and some change that we can share.
That's right. That's right.
You keep doing what you're doing, brother. And thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you. Salute, sir.